Hello and welcome back to the Halcyon radio podcast. My name is Elsie and I will be your guide to the magical small town of Halcyon. In the last episode, after the pie contest went to shambles, Darla ran off into the forest again and I followed after her. Let's get started. I watched as Darla disappeared between the trees down the same narrow dirt path we'd taken before. I sighed in frustration. I was still shaken up from the last time we'd gone into the forest. Plus, this time, my stomach was filled with the Harvest Festival feast, and moving quickly made me want to throw up. I paused for a moment, looking up to see if my light friends were still hanging around the tops of the trees. Something about the sight of them in this moment would bring comfort, but they weren't there. I began to take steps into the forest. The sun, starting to set, flashed ambient light through the branches as I looked around. It felt different than the night before, but I kept walking. The path stayed narrow and riddled with sticks breaking under my boots. A chill swept through the air, sending my arms to wrap around myself. Winter wasn't far off now. I called out for Darla, but it went unanswered. I picked up my pace to try to find her and reached a stream crossing through the footpath. It was the same one we'd seen the night before, but it wasn't filled with glowing petals or luminescent rocks. It was as normal as any stream I'd seen. I crossed it with a jump, knowing not far ahead was the large tree. Before long, in a clearing, the tree emerged in front of me. Magnificent and grand, it stood as tall as ever, but not glowing. No comforting presence. I saw Darla sitting at the bottom where we'd fallen asleep before, but she was wide awake. "Its magic is gone," she said in a disappointed tone. I nodded, also in disbelief, as though we really had imagined it all. Darla kept her head down as she took my hand and we walked to the entrance of the forest. There were no humming rocks or glowing energy to be found. "Maybe it's only at night," I tried to reassure her. But by the time we exited the tree line, the sun was down. "Sorry I made you run in after me," Darla said. I shook my head. "You didn't make me do anything," I replied. I went back to the Harvest Festival to find the lanterns on strings lit and mugs of hot chocolate distributed. The stars above were peeking out. The bonfires were beginning to ignite. I saw Charlie again, surrounded by a group of people. Their cheeks rosy, as though they'd been pinched, huddled together, laughing. I knew I could join them, and I would be welcomed plenty, but I held back. Darla had gone home. Miss Maisie was chatting with some ladies I'd never met, and Janice was having an intense conversation with Mr. Hubble and a few other townspeople who seemed invested in the discussion. I wasn't sure where I fit here yet, and I wasn't sure if I even wanted to fit somewhere. Before another thought could enter my head, I felt the chill of a snowflake touch my cheek. At first I thought it was just rain, but I looked up to see the dark sky peppered with white flakes. The childish joy this brought me. I began to recount snow days, sledding, and snowsuits, Christmas trees covered in lights, watching the snow fall from my childhood window with a warm blanket draped over me and an even warmer drink in my hands. All around me, I heard gasps of wonder. Together, we all rejoiced in the fact that winter had arrived, and it was beautiful. As the festival wound down, the teenagers did most of the heavy lifting in putting things away. I learned that Mrs. Mayweather had left in a huff over her second-place win when it was announced they weren't going to discuss it any longer. There were now firm rules going forward that even any advice from AI would disqualify you. I also learned from whispers between people that Charlie was dating Ashley, the woman he was always sitting with. She helped with the animals on her father's farm here in town. They'd only been dating 4 months, but things were looking serious. I made sure to wave at him as he saw me leaving. The snow was beginning to get thicker, and I saw my boots leaving footprints as I strolled back to the inn. I got to my room and put a log in the fireplace, lit to warm the space, and got into my new flannel pajamas, climbed under the blankets, and fell asleep. The next morning, I got up slowly. The fire in the fireplace had burnt out overnight, and my room was as cold as ice. As I got up to add another log, I couldn't help but notice the white cascade outside. Every tree branch, all the roads, every house in sight had a thick layer of powdered snow. It looked like a miracle. Not an inch of it was touched yet. Everything outside seemed to be at rest under a snowy blanket. I, on the other hand, was trembling. I wrapped myself in my winter coat as I got the fire going, only to notice the time and hurry to get ready to go downstairs. Even though I'd gone to bed on time, I tended to want to sleep in more and more. It was getting hard to even get up and out of bed in the mornings. Downstairs was warm, as the roaring fire in the lobby was heavily tended to. "Good morning, dear," said Janice. "What a beautiful day, isn't it? The first day of snow is so magical." I agreed. Yeah, I couldn't believe how much snow we got. Then I walked back to the kitchen to see Basil stirring some sort of batter in a bowl. "Good morning, Miss Elsie. Ready to make eggs Benedict this morning? I'm just starting on the English muffins." The sound of breakfast left me yearning. "Oh, I'm so hungry," I said. "Sounds delicious." We worked together as I ladled scoops of batter into an oiled pan and watched as the batter fluffed up into muffins. I took generous slices of ham and threw them on a skillet, mixed up a hollandaise sauce, and once everything was finished, I cracked an egg for each guest. They only took a moment to cook. I was salivating the whole time. Ham and eggs were my favorite, and I couldn't wait to sink my teeth into a homemade English muffin. All the guests were cheery and drank more coffee than usual. They all stood around admiring the beauty of the snow outside and how it seemed to transform the whole town and brighten every mood. I spent the afternoon, as I would like to call it, like a house cat. I lounged in a big chair in the lounge by the fire, drinking coffee and tea, taking bits of snacks from the kitchen until dinner time. I'd been keeping an eye on the slow-cooked roast as the potatoes and carrots caramelized at the bottom of the pan. By the time dinner came and went, it was dark out. The snow had been falling quietly all day, leaving us all to huddle inside. But my work was done for the day, and I wanted to enjoy walking in the snow. So I put on my snow boots, donated from Janice, and a snow jacket, an oversized men's jacket I gathered from the lost and found, and went out for a stroll. The streets were lined with lanterns as the snow fell around me. I could feel the gentle pitter-patter of their flakes on my nose and cheeks. I had an idea to walk to the brewery. It was still early enough, and I hadn't stopped by yet. I passed the clothing store, the bookstore, the bakery, then the cafe, and I started on my way toward the farmhouse. I wasn't sure if I was going the right way, but there were only so many ways to go. As I kept walking, I saw Darla with an older woman on her porch. They were talking about something. I got closer to say hi. "Hey, Elsie." "Hey, Darla, what are you up to?" I said as I reached the porch. "This is Miss Bonnet. I was just helping her keep her walk shoveled and cooked a few things for her." "And she was a lovely help," Miss Bonnet said. "How nice of you, Darla," I said. "If only she would trust a robot to do this work," Darla said with a tone I wasn't sure I wanted to understand. Miss Bonnet chimed in. "Well, I just don't trust those things. It's not natural. All the things they're doing, I've heard some people are marrying those things. The nerve. I wouldn't trust one to even make me a cup of coffee, let alone help me around the house." Darla giggled. "Good night, Miss Bonnet. I'll be back in the morning to shovel your walk." "Good night, dear. Don't go meeting any robots on your way home. Never know what they'll do," Miss Bonnet said as she trailed off and closed the front door. I smiled at Darla. "I'm off to the brewery. I haven't been by yet." "Well, that sounds fun. I've been here all day. Miss Bonnet lost her husband last week, so it's my turn to help her out. Then the snow came and made things even harder. I can't believe she won't just get a robot. Everyone else does." Oh, that's so sad for her. Maybe it's better she's around someone she can talk to a bit. Keep her from being lonely, I said. No, those robots are better at talking about sad stuff than I am, Darla said. I don't know how to respond to her when she goes on about how wonderful Mr. Bonnet was. You're doing a good thing, even coming. That's what counts. I guess. Well, I'll see you later, Elsie. I waved her goodbye as I made my way down the road. I passed a farm and a barn. Then I saw a log cabin covered in Christmas lights. The trees in front also adorned with a sign that said brewery. My legs were starting to get tired from lifting them out of the snow over and over, but I made it to the brewery and swung open the front door. The inside of the brewery was decorated with Christmas cheer. Garland lined the high, raw wood beams. There was a lit pine tree in the corner along with matching ornaments. The man behind the counter wore a Santa hat and a big grin. Charlie came from the back wearing a hat with elf ears, looking cheery about something. We locked eyes. Elsie, he said loudly across the bar. All the patrons, none of whom I recognized, looked back at me. Some sour-faced, some with nonchalant expressions, giving me the feeling none of them had heard of me moving here or didn't care to know. I sat at a tall table for two. Charlie came over. So glad you could make it out. Take a look at the menu. I've got a chocolate chip cookie lager most people are enjoying this time of year. Sounds decadent. I'll take one and throw in some mozzarella sticks. Charlie laughed. No problem. I'll be back in a moment. While he walked away, I noticed the other people around me, mostly wearing flannel and jeans. The woman in the brewery didn't wear makeup, or obvious makeup, or do their hair in any particular way. A stark difference from my city life. It seemed as though everyone held a few extra pounds that didn't bother anyone. Charlie, with his full beard and silly elf ears, appeared not much later with beer and mozzarella sticks, which were extra hot from the deep fryer. You gotta tell me what you think of that lager. I spent years perfecting that flavor. He watched as I took the ice-cold glass to my lips. The top foam was smooth and buttery. Then came the flavor of chocolate, a familiar taste of something distant. It was thick and reminded me of the smell of fresh bread. The beauty of it all together was only something an expert could create. Wow, I said plainly. This is incredible. Thanks, Elsie. Charlie sat at the chair across from me. So what are you up to tonight? I took more sips of the beer, not getting even a hint of bitter alcohol flavor. Well, I finished up my shift and remembered that I hadn't stopped by before. Ah, well, I'm glad you remembered. I passed by Darla helping out Mrs. Bonnet on the way here. Charlie's expression changed. Oh, yeah. What a tragedy. Mr. Bonnet lived here his whole life. Worked those fields since he was old enough to hold a shovel. He was a good man. And Mrs. Bonnet won't accept help from AI, so everyone in town is taking shifts helping her around the house, making sure she's okay. Man, you think people stick around forever. You hardly notice everyone getting older. Happens faster than you think. I remember being a boy. Mr. Bonnet was old even then. I helped on his farm a few summers when I was young. Those were the days. Freedom, sunshine. He trailed off, certainly lost in thought now. It all just goes by so fast. I nodded, knowing the feeling, thinking of the fact that I was so young when I moved to the city. How alive I'd felt thinking I was going to take over the world and really make it, only to realize I had no idea what I was doing. All those years, a blur, a distant memory now, and all for nothing. At least Mr. Bonnet had his town and all the people in it. How wonderful it must have been to live his life here. Charlie looked up at me. Has Janice talked about her husband at all to you? I was taken aback. I hadn't even thought of Janice with a husband. No, I said. Yeah, he passed, years ago now. He said it with a bewildered look on his face. Yeah, he was good friends with my dad. He also grew up here. Good man. He built that beautiful inn with his own hands. We were all so impressed and proud. Janice looked at him like he hung the moon. Even as he got older, she never lost that sparkle. I just sat for a moment, now realizing how cruel time was. Sometimes, Charlie started again. Sometimes I hear her listening to this recording Basil made for her. He passed too quickly to say goodbye, so Basil went through some home movies and recordings of them together and was able to mimic his voice to say goodbye, basically. It was kind of wild to hear it myself sometimes. Surprised, I said, "Did she want that?" Charlie shrugged his shoulders. I'm not sure if she ever asked for it, but still to this day, she asks Basil to play it for her. She doesn't cry anymore, though. She sits with a proud smile on her face now. Took a while to get there. I nodded my head, impressed that Basil knew to do that. Charlie shifted in his seat. "Sorry for the depressing conversation," he said with a chuckle. "So who's your secret Santa?" He changed the subject. I thought for a moment. I don't have a secret Santa. Charlie looked surprised. "Did you go to town hall to get one?" Confused, I said, "No." "Well, you've got to get one. Everyone in town does it. You get a name and a present idea. Doesn't matter if you know the person or anything. Then on Christmas Eve, we exchange presents and have a feast." The moment caught me. I hadn't thought of what I was doing for Christmas this year. I had always spent it with a boyfriend or a close friend and their family, but this year was the first year I was alone. This terrified me. Charlie looked at me knowingly. "You don't like Christmas?" he said in an understanding tone. "It's not that. It's just that I'm alone this year. I've never been alone on Christmas before." "Elsie, you have the whole town. We'll all be there." I nodded distantly. I thought of past Christmases. When I was a kid, it was all so important. When did that stop? When did it become mundane? And as an adult, I didn't even get close to the joy I'd felt as a child. For the lights, the candies, the decorations, Santa, the tree, and the presents. I never knew the people who were around me then wouldn't be around me now. Even just last year, it all looks so different now. You have Janice. She needs you more than you know, Elsie. You really saved her, and the inn. She wasn't going to be able to keep that up forever. And after Phil died, I think it would have killed her to have someone without heart running it. You have heart, Elsie. We can all see that. My eyes began to burn with tears. I begged my body not to cry, but a single tear ran down my cheek. "Thank you, Charlie," I said under my breath. "I think I should head back now." I took the last bite of my mozzarella sticks and sipped the last of my chocolatey beer. "Let me walk you back, Elsie. It's getting bad out there." Over the course of my time at the brewery, the snow had fallen significantly. You could see out the window that mailboxes and treetops were covered with a heavy blanket of white powder. Watching it come down from the sky reminded me of powdered sugar on French toast. "I think I'll be okay, Charlie. Thanks for the beer. It was wonderful. I'll go get my secret Santa tomorrow." Charlie, with a worried look on his face, waved at me as I looked back at him. I put on my winter coat and opened the door to the outside world covered in snow. Thoughts of Christmases past kept popping into my head as I remembered my feet in snow, running to get up a sledding hill, chasing after friends with snowballs, walking with my crush in middle school through a snowy afternoon, the night my high school boyfriend told me he loved me, dragging my saxophone to my car after a Christmas concert in college. All the memories came and slipped away as though they didn't fully belong to me. They were just part of a greater memory of humankind. The snow fully covered my boots now, and it was getting harder to move through. I looked up to see the powder falling on my face like a whisper from the sky. I hadn't even passed Mrs. Bonnet's house yet. This was going to take me much longer than I expected. I had chosen the wrong night to go out. Winded, I stopped for a moment to catch my breath. The treetops had a shimmer on them. At first, I thought someone had put Christmas lights on them, but it wasn't that. They were glowing and bouncing around the tops of the trees, creating a yellow hue in the backdrop of the darkness. More kept bouncing to the tops from the canopy below, as though to witness my struggle. That's when I heard an engine coming from behind me. Thinking quickly, I tried to get out of the road, but my feet were hardly moving. I hoped they could swerve around me. It was getting closer, and my feet stayed planted. Why wasn't I moving? The audience from the treetops got even larger until it looked like a lit-up stadium. Then a snowmobile stopped right beside me. "Elsie," Charlie yelled out, "what are you doing?" "I'm having a hard time moving," I said as snow filled my eyelashes. I noticed Charlie's beard covered in snow. "Come on, get in." He grabbed my arm and sat me in the snowmobile as he took off toward town. I felt silly, since it wasn't even far. He stopped in front of the inn within a minute. I took a glance at the snow-covered town, so new and fresh now. "Thanks, Charlie," I said as he nodded his head at me. "Be more careful next time," he said as he took off back towards the brewery. Thank you for listening to the Halcyon Radio podcast. Please join me for the next episode, coming soon.